All right, we are live. Fonseca in Minneapolis, Politi in New Jersey to break down the 31-28 loss to Minnesota. Lots to talk about, Brian. I guess we should begin at the end of the game. Certainly there's a lot I want to say about the defense, a lot I want to say about the state of this program right now, but let's cover the logistics there. Obviously, the ball is in Rutgers' hand. They've got a chance to score late, to steal this one back after Minnesota scored. They get pretty deep within field goal range. And then just an unthinkable play. I mean, I've never seen a quarterback nutmegged by his own snap. Ball goes through his legs, loss of 15 yards. And all of a sudden, you go from what looked like at worst a realistic chance to tie the game to just a disaster. You're looking at a situation where now you're out of field. You're a 60-yard field goal. The next play is a 3-yard pass, which I just don't understand. They send out a freshman, sophomore, who never attempted a field goal to try a 56-yarder. I get it; he has a big leg, but that's a big ask. I mean, the final few minutes of that game were just not great.
It should have never gotten to that point, right? But disregarding that, we'll get back to that. But the fact it was, I think we could agree you would prefer having your offense going for a game-winning score than that defense having to make a stop to win the game, right? So they were in a position they probably would have preferred.
Right.
And they were moving the ball up until that snap. Everything was working out well. They were in position. So just to have it happen that way is such a Rutgers way. I hate to say it because it's so cliche, but just like of all the ways that could have happened. I can't tell you I saw the Ian Strong 3-yard play that well as far as the coverage Minnesota had. I don't know if they were covering every guy. I don't know, right? I can't speak to the efficiency of the play. With the kick, Dane Pizarro has always been the long field goal guy, right? Yes. And Jay Patel, Greg Schiano said his range is not 56 yards, which is fair. And the kid has just missed his last 3 kicks, so his confidence can't be very high. That being said, your first career field goal being in a raucous environment from 55 yards, where if you don't hit it, the game is over, is a absolute brutal spot to put a guy.
Not great. That's tough. That's a tough place to be. Yeah. So I feel bad for him. I don't know. I guess that's still a better option than 4th and 23 at that situation, or 4th and 22, whatever it was. Maybe throw the ball down, get a penalty. I don't know. I do want to point this out, and it's funny because we're going to talk about the defense, but this is the 3rd game this season where Rutgers has looked like it's going to score 50 points in the early goings of a game. Ohio, 31 points in the first half, 3 in the second half. Iowa, 21 points in the first half, 7 in the second half. This week, 21 points, should have been 24 points, 21 points in the first half, 7 after halftime. That trend's not great either.
No, and you don't think they missed those 3 points or 7 points from that first drive where they should have scored at the end when it's only a 3-point game? Yeah, it is strange, but I don't think, at least not in this game, that it's this idea where they're turtling up and completely changing the defense, the offense. The Minnesota defense adjusted. They were just blitzing the hell out of Athan Kaliakmanis, creating a ton of pressure. They got 6 sacks, or maybe 7. I think it was
7.
6.
I think, yeah.
Well, if you include, I guess that snap, that's a sack in theory, but 6 real sacks, let's say, that's an insane amount of sacks. So Kirk Straka, to adjust for that, finally started throwing balls to the running back and to the tight end, and that was moving the ball, right? So I don't think you could fault Kirk Straka's play calling or that they went conservative for the offense. I think Minnesota just realized that Greg's the offensive line wasn't playing well, that their ends were beating the Rutgers tackles half the time, and Rutgers had struggle adjusting to that, albeit though Antoine Raymond had a great game.
Right. Yeah, so he certainly did. Yeah. The other part about that is Minnesota had the ball for 12 and a half minutes in the 3rd quarter. I mean, I guess, blame the offense. They had 4 plays, right? I mean, it's hard to really get on them there. So this is the opportunity to go into the defense. And listen, I don't know, we knew this was going to be the case you want to go back to the spring. We knew it was going to be the case in July, and we got the line from Greg Schiano, the "we'll get better" line. We'll get better. And today he said, "Well, we are getting better." Okay, I mean, I get it, but you're still doing nothing well. You say, well, we still only allowed 37 rushing yards or whatever it was. Well, why would Minnesota run the ball? They don't have their best running back. Like, why on earth would they possibly even think about running the ball? Every time they drop back, they get 10 yards of pass. They're sipping the ball down the field. Lindsey Drake, whatever his name is, he looks like he's a Heisman Trophy candidate. Same way they did against Iowa's quarterback a week ago. This is the same thing. And these aren't the good offenses, Brian. Like this is not the good offense the team's going to face. These are mediocre at best Big Ten offenses. I mean, look what's coming down the pike.
Listen, I don't tell, I'm not a preacher here, but I think everyone that goes into SHI Stadium on homecoming should do one of these a couple times when Oregon comes on the field and prays that Dan Lanning has some mercy in him. Because, yeah, I mean, the first drive of the second half tells the entire story to me. They threw the ball 11 times on 13 plays, and they got whatever they wanted. Rutgers got zero pressure, no pressure. The guy could have stood there for 12 seconds and thrown the ball. And their receivers were getting wide open because, one, the Rutgers defensive backs can't cover, and two, there was just so much time that they had no hope of covering. I don't know what changes could possibly come, because I think some of it, it comes down to a talent issue, right? They just don't have enough talent in the front seven, particularly, especially after losing Doug Blue, Eli, and Moses Walker already. I just don't know if they have enough guys to create pressure. And if you can't create pressure, even a little bit, I just don't think your defense has any hope.
Right. No, totally. No, I agree. That said, it is I think the pressure issue is the bigger issue. But they can't cover anybody either. Like other than Cam Miller, who I thought had a nice game. The secondary, just these guys are wide open. Like it's not, that's the other part of this too. And I think that's what Greg Schiano said, as he was talking about the tackling, which was also a problem, and the penalties, which is all like, what have we not mentioned here? That's a problem on this defense. Like, again, if they had got like another 3rd and long defensive holding penalty and nowhere near the play, that kills you. They would have stopped them there. It would have been that would have been a win for the defense. I mean, it's rough. It seems like everything that could possibly be bad is bad.
I don't know if it came off on TV, but this is the second straight game where I watched in the stadium, and it looks like there's just miscommunication issues, especially in the back. Josh Sanders, for 2 or 3 straight plays, is just screaming at the sideline, jumping up and down. One drive, I can't remember which one, Greg had to go pull Jet Elad aside because him and Josh Sanders were barking at each other. And I don't know if that's because there's just a confusion. I don't know if that's because of the way the defense is called. I don't know if it's because there's so many new guys. I don't know what the issue is, but clearly there's just something not there where I know I said that talent is an issue. I agree with that. But there is some extent of like, guys just don't know where to be and what to do. And when that happens, you're a half step behind. And that's how your opponent, throws for 350 yards or whatever Minnesota did today.
Right. Yeah. And this is not this is new guys. This is week 5. It's halfway through the season. I mean, there's no excuse. You've had 3 games and non-conference to get to this point. There's no excuse for that. There's a certain point where, you just are what you are here. And that I think we've hit that point. What do you think? What do you think of Greg postgame tonight?
Well, first I'll say everyone is saying now to fire Rob Smith. I don't think that'll happen just because it's not realistic. You're not going to fire a guy 5 games into a season. Like it just doesn't.
Yeah, 5 games since hiring him to be the guy, and even how many months ago is that? Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Right, and I know people want like someone to be burned at the altar or whatever, and I get it. People want blood. It's not realistic for the guy to get fired. Now, will Greg take more responsibility of the defense, or will someone else get more play calling responsibility, or will other players play? I think it's all on the table based on what Greg said, where they're going to the bye week and kind of reevaluating everything. And I think everything should be on the table, right? I don't see anything on the defense, whether it's play calling, coaching, players themselves that have staked their place. Like this guy, you can't take him off the field. You can't not do this. I think every place is negotiable because nobody really has stood out, at least for more than one game. It's been a really, really rough defense. It's not quite Chris Ash level defense. I saw some people saying that it's not quite there, but it's not that far off. They're really struggling.
Yeah. It's rough. Yeah. And to your point, there are no obvious answers here. I don't like, you hate, like, I don't know what can he say? Like, I guess I get that sometimes when I think about like the coach, taking shots at the coach for a post-game press conference. I don't know what he really can say in this situation. We're getting the, we'll be there. We'll get there again, which, sets my hair on fire as people might be aware. Maybe it's just in my own head. We'll be back. We got today, like we're Schwarzenegger. I mean, there's a lot today. He's trying to explain it. I don't think he really can explain it for the most part. But it does come back to this, for me, at least, this is the second straight week where you had the better playmakers against an opposing team and lost. Like, this is another situation where this is a game you really should have won. You should have been up big in the first half. You should have done better. In the second half, you're not facing a good opponent. I would be surprised if either Minnesota or Iowa are much better than 6-6, 7-5. You lost.
Yeah, and I think you can compare them. They're probably a little bit better than Purdue or Maryland, but not by much. They're probably a little worse than Illinois and Washington, not by much. The thing is, you come into the stretch, these 3 games, you have to win at least one, and you'd like to win at least 2. Well, you can't win at least 2 now, and now the one game that you have left to win is probably the hardest of the 3. You're going on the road against probably the best of the 3 teams. Right. So you're putting yourself in a spot where if you don't win at Washington, you have to run the table against Maryland, Purdue, and Illinois to make a bowl game, which we agree, if you don't make a bowl game this year, that is an unmitigated disaster because you're taking a step back in theory when you're supposed to be making incremental progress, as Greg Schiano says. So they're in a rough spot. And I don't see, unless the offense is able to just be what it was in the first 3 or 4 drives for an entire game, which is an impossible ask, I just don't see how Rutgers is going to be able to sustain a 60-minute effort where they can win a game, because when it comes down to it, it seems like every fourth quarter is going to be a one-score game because of the defense. And when they have to make a big stop, they can't do it because the other big thing that we haven't mentioned, there's no game-changing plays. There's no interceptions. There's no fumbles. There's no sacks. There's no second down sacks that put them in 3rd and long. There's nothing that, Minnesota got 1, a blocked field goal, and 2, more importantly, a pick on Athan that set up a touchdown. That's a game-changing play right there. That completely turns the game on its head. Rutgers defense doesn't do that. It has 3 turnovers in 5 games, 3 takeaways in 5 games. 2 of them are to Norfolk State, which, by the way, has lost now to Towson, Sacred Heart, and Wagner. So that's very alarming. You have 1 takeaway in 4 games against real opponents. It's hard to win football games that way.
This was just a very meta moment. I clicked on the YouTube link to see if there are any questions, and we're in there talking, but we're talking a little bit behind where we actually we're talking now. So I'm like, wait a minute, I'm talking, but Brian's mouth is moving. What's going on? Anyway, just kind of a funny modern thing here for Grandpa. Do we have any questions yet? No.
Well, we have one on the Discord from Jay Liptak37. He says it's clear that the defense is holding our team back this year, whether it be scheme or players. Last season, they, quote, stripped it down and started playing better. Are they unable to simplify this defense to get better results? Maybe that's the answer. Simplify the defense. Maybe it's change who's playing. Maybe it's change who's calling the plays. I don't know the answer. I will say they did play better in the back half of the year, to our surprise, as well as a better offense. I think the defense could get marginally better, but I mean, you tell me, is there anything that comes to your mind where it's like, if they changed this or they changed that, suddenly they're going to get better? I can't think of anything.
Not really. No, I don't have I don't think there's someone waiting in the wings that hasn't played. They would have tried them. It seemed like they blitzed quite a bit today. They were sending 6 guys and get to the quarterback. They did hit him a couple times. Bradley Weaver had a better game today. Like I said, Cam Miller, I thought, played a good game. They did it, defensively. They at least had that 4th and short stop. That was a kind of a key play. Just trying to look at some of the positives. I guess if you're looking at that, they got to the quarterback a couple of times. But again, we're judging on incremental progress is what we get that from Greg, where I assume I was listening on the radio. I'm assuming we got the trajectory up thing. No, we didn't get that.
No body language today.
No body language.
Body language.
Yeah. But talk about the competition trajectory goes like this now, with Washington and Oregon. So yeah, I have a hard time pinpointing what it is, really, to be honest. I just think this is, we're looking at a situation where every little thing, like if you were to judge it, you whiffed in the portal. Clearly there were recruiting flops along the way because there's not enough depth in the program defensively, or we would see it. I mean, it's like, I don't have to go through the 5-star list and do the analysis. Bye week might be a good time to do it. But, I know that to be the case. You made a lackluster hire who's an easy target in the offseason for defensive coordinator. And now on the field, every single thing you can't even pinpoint which would be the biggest problem. So, I mean, I have a hard time seeing exactly what they're going to fix.
A couple things. One, they got 2 sacks. One of them was Drake Lindsay literally running into a Rutgers defender, like just basically gifting them a sack.
Right.
So really it was 1 sack. 2, people don't want to hear this, and I don't think it's the main reason. I do think injuries does play a factor into this because, to your point, they don't have the depth built up on recruiting. That's a big thing. They didn't recruit that well out of the portal, so every little thing hurts. You lose Doug Blue Eli, who's probably your best interior defender. You lose Moses Walker, who's one of your 2 best linebackers by default. That hurts, right? Again, when you're a team that's so thin, everything will kill you. But I got nothing more on the defense, I guess, to move on. From your vantage point, you watched on TV. What did you think of how Athan played? And to a similar point you've had about the offense, flip-flopping Jekyll and Hyde first half to second half, he converts his first 9 passes, 10 of his first 13, and then second half struggled a bit until the last couple drives where he got it going.
Yeah, and I don't know if it turned out if you could see it live, but it to me, like his first 2 throws were off target, and his receivers bailed him out. So you thought, okay, well he's too jacked up for this, and he dodged a bullet. Well, then he had a couple more throws. Like, I mean, he threw in with the one play he threw into the end zone that Ian Strong had to break up before the touchdown to Duff. He had another play that could have been picked off. So when he was picked off late in the first half, like to me, it was inevitable. Like this was going to happen. Like he was putting the ball in a position that was causing more problems. I don't know if it was the way Minnesota was playing defense, if he felt the pass rush, because the blocking wasn't great, pass blocking wise. So that was a problem with Athan overall. I thought he had a good game, but certainly not a great game. He got outplayed quarterback wise if you're comparing the two. Obviously, that said, I mean, Antoine Raymond had an incredible game. I mean, and there were some great calls too. A couple of times where I'm like, before I could get the words, "What the hell are you doing?" on a 3rd and long run, he had 20 yards in the first down. They caught him off balance with some of the runs. He was patient with the runs. Made things, created space where there was no space a couple of times. Extended runs, like you thought he was going to go down. He got a few more yards. I mean, I thought that was his best game that I've seen. Maybe the best running back game. Certainly, I can pick one of the Kyle Monangai games out of a hat. It was Ray Rice-esque at times. He was really that good.
Kyle Monangai-esque in the sense of him breaking tackles, making big plays. Like the 2 3rd and longs that he converted, one was maybe a surprise that Rutgers was running the ball, but he's beating guys, barreling through them, breaking tackles, doing things that Monangai did. He's been very impressive and probably underrated. He has 14 touchdowns in the last 7 games, 2 touchdowns a game. He's the first Rutgers running back in 52 years since J.J. Jennings to score multiple rushing touchdowns in 4 straight games.
That's incredible.
That's an incredible stat. Yes. So right after Rutgers had Kyle Monangai as one of the pantheon of Rutgers running backs, Antoine Raymond has a chance of joining, coming right after that.
Great.
Athan, I thought this is more of a narrative thing. I have to look at the numbers to know exact reality, but the moment he scores the 2nd touchdown, he runs towards the student section and he gives them one of these.
Oh,
I saw a couple of Minnesota writers point that out, and that really was where it went downhill. He was sheepish about it when I asked him after the game. He said it was nothing really. I think clearly we saw it was something. He was essentially telling them, "Let me hear you now," because they were being loud. Maybe they said something to him. I don't know. I wasn't on the field. But from that moment on, things kind of went down. We have a couple of comments here I'm going to put on for us to discuss. Jack Basaha says that I think Greg needs to stop coaching scared. Example, the first drive, run 3 straight times for a field goal, especially after Athan let him down the field. What do you guys think?
I hated that. I hated it too. Yeah, totally. Okay, you want to run on first down, you want to run on 1st and 2nd down. It's the 3rd down play that I just don't understand. Totally, 100%. The way they're passing the ball, you've got KJ Duff. Is there not a fade route for that kid? He's 6'6". Is there not something in the offense where you could get him alone? I screaming at the TV when it happened. That was a huge point in the game. They could have gone up 7-0. They should have gone up 3-0, and then the field goal was blocked. You're just thinking, oh boy, like that's that was I agreed completely that was a bad sequence.
And then it made it worse by the next drive. They're in a similar situation, and they just run a simple crossing route to DT Sheffield, and it's a touchdown. They couldn't guard him. Right. Yeah. I think the big difference here was when you saw that first drive of the second half where they throw the ball 11 times on 13 plays. Like they had an advantage, and they just kept hammering it. Rutgers on the first drive were killing them over the air, and then it just suddenly decided to – again, I don't disagree with the thought to run the ball in theory, but also the other point is that you throw out Sam Brown for his first snaps of the season, and he's the one that takes the carries on that drive. And then after that, he doesn't run. He doesn't have a carry in the last 3 quarters. That's also very confusing to me. If you're really trying to redshirt the guy, right? That all signs point to that. And you're going to use him in one of his 4 games today, and you only give him 5 carries. Maybe he just wasn't being as effective as they wanted, and they pulled the plug. But
I don't know. Great point. Yeah, I mean, what he was about, he certainly looked okay a couple of times. No Jayshon Benjamin at all. I don't think I wrote his name down. Interesting.
So
I'd like to know.
And he's not hurt. He was not on the report.
Yeah. I've got questions about that. I'm not, as I know some people worked up about the red shirt thing. I just don't know that that's something that's a priority in this point in time for college football. Could be wrong. I mean, maybe they're still going to try to do it, but if he's playing well, I'd rather have him out there than wait for a year and another year that might not happen with the way the portal is.
Well, Jashon redshirted last year, so he there's no more redshirting for him. But the thing is with Sam, but to your point, 5-5 is going to be a thing soon. I don't know if that applies retroactively, but soon enough, there's going to be no redshirt. So I agree with you that if that is a deciding factor, it shouldn't be. I don't think it is, but I was surprised at that. Jayshon Benjamin did have a chance against Iowa. They threw the ball to him in the flat, not necessarily a screen, but a short pass, and he trips, and that ends up being a big moment in the game where they could have gotten a first down. Maybe they've lost trust. I don't know. But to go from a limited role he had to no role was something. Yeah. Another question here, big picture. I said last year after the Illinois game, Schiano is a Peter principal coach. Can't do it on the big stage. Patriot League, yes. But, okay, that's a bit obviously an exaggeration. I think Greg's shown that he's a high major coach in the Big East and at certain points in the Big Ten. To that point, though, this is another game like Iowa where it's a coin flip game, somewhat evenly matched, right? Like a game where Rutgers should have a chance. And I just don't know, has Rutgers won enough of these games at this level where you're satisfied? You lose these 2 this week. Last year, you lose Illinois in the most bizarre fashion possible. You lose to Wisconsin. You lose to UCLA. You lose to Nebraska. Nebraska is almost exactly like this, another away game where you can get a historic win and you just don't pull through. So while I don't necessarily agree with the delivery, I do agree that Rutgers under Greg Schiano has not shown they can win games against comparable competition anywhere near enough for one to feel like they are taking a step forward. Because winning these games is how you take a step forward.
If you were to take Greg Schiano 2.0 and you were to make 2 categories, right? One category being, here are all the games where I thought Greg Schiano gave his team an edge over the opposing team. And the other category being, here's where I thought the other team had a better strategy, better in-game adjustments than Greg Schiano. I mean, it wouldn't be close. I don't think it would be close. No, totally. It would be whoops. Yeah. I mean, I can't think of how many times have I felt that. I mean, early on I did. It's funny. Like the first game back, there were a couple of them, like they went out and beat Michigan State. You're like, oh, thank God, competent coaching. Because we had seen such bad coaching for so long and they've been overmatched in every way. And now, they got back to the point where they're competitive with these teams, but there just has not been many instances where you thought at the end of a game, well, they stole that one. Like, man, they went in there, got that one. Like I haven't seen it. And you see it every week in college football. I haven't seen it from this program.
You saw last night, Virginia beat Florida State.
You saw it last night. Absolutely. Yep.
I had this thought rattling in my head. I haven't done the numbers on this, but my theory is that first year and second year with Sean Gleason, they're running all these trick plays. They're doing all these different things. They're doing the Johnny Langan run him 1,000 times into the brick wall at Purdue because they were overmatched. And because to give yourself a chance at winning these games, you have to do these outlandish, you have to try things essentially. Because if not, you don't give yourself a chance. But now that you are evenly matched, I would say this game, Iowa, Illinois last year, like you are evenly matched, if not a little bit better or worse. Now you're trying to win it the traditional way. And in Greg's mind, the traditional way is don't lose the game before you can win the game.
Right.
And that limits what they do. That makes them more conservative. And while they might not lose a game, they're lowering their chances of going out and winning a game. I hope that makes sense because to go out and win a game, you have to try things like put a little bit of risk, have a little bit more risk tolerance. I think the risk tolerance is a little low. Now, I say that today, funnily, Rutgers finally returns a punt, and it ends up losing them 5 yards because they gain 5 yards on the punt, and they get called for a whole block in the back. So
Yeah.
maybe that proves his theory right. Maybe it's not worth the risk. But generally, I just feel like there's not enough risk tolerance, and maybe you lose a game you shouldn't, right? But you win games that you shouldn't either, going that way. Whereas now, it does feel like in this 2.0, it's Rutgers wins almost every game they should against the ACC teams, against worse Big Ten teams. I can't remember Rutgers losing a game where it's like they should not have lost that game. But I don't remember a game where Rutgers won a game where I was like, wow, they really pulled that one out. The closest was Illinois. But other than that.
But they didn't win the game against Illinois.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying if they had won that game,
I see.
That was the closest I would feel to that. Because the wins over Minnesota, Maryland, and Michigan State last year, were wins they, at the time it was like, wow, they came back from the 4-game losing streak and won those games. But now in hindsight, it's like probably should have won those games because those are mediocre at best teams.
Yep. All right. What do you say we wrap it up here, because we want to save, I think we should save the longer discussion of what this means in the short term for the season, since it's a bye game, and in the broader picture for the program. That seems to be the podcast topic for Monday. At least that's the thing I'd like to talk about. But appreciate you joining the live show. What are you eating? Getting Juicy Lucy tonight out there, Fonseca? What are you doing?
I had my Juicy Lucy last night, and they give you so many fries is the issue, right? Like I enjoyed my Juicy Lucy, and if I just had the burger, I might have had a second one. But there was so many fries that I had to, I couldn't let my purchase go to waste, so I had to eat all the fries. Right. I'm going to go to the press box and I'm going to write, and then I'm going to go to my hotel and I'm going to fall asleep because I have a 6 a.m. flight because I'm an idiot.
Very good.
So no night on the town for me.
No, not even going to stop by and say hi to Mary Tyler Moore, her statue, iconic Minneapolis person. No,
I can't spoil her and visit her every time because then she expects it every time. I got to keep it sporadic, keep it mysterious.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us here. Send in some questions, topics you want to talk about. We'll be back on Monday with the podcast as usual. Thanks.